Welcome to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. It is the most tasty food on the most FM. And we also talk about garden hospitality, food, and people who are involved in all this in Taranaki. And of course, we talk about music. We are recording our show live on a Facebook group page. Look for Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. And join if you like to think behind the scenes. I'm Alina Williams, your local foodie, socialite, and self-taker. And my co-star is Burek Foy, fellow broadcaster, educator, and the president of SOBA, Society of Beer Advocates.
Buenos dias.
And he said Buenos dias, and this is the hint, because our guest today is beautiful and charming Carmen Castro Sylvester, organic coffee queen, owner of Incafe and iCoco labels, devoted mother and wife, and a very, very modest person. Hello, Carmen.
Hi, everybody.
Our videographers today are Oli Foy and Nathan Griffiths. And how about we listen to some music first? It's Leo Rojas, El Condor Pasa. And this is the sounds of nature here, and he uses this like a pen flute.
Yes.
And he makes noises with his own, like a throat, and it's noises like of a bird or clipping of wings or something. I don't know, maybe some insects with there. So it's pretty amazing music.
The Condor Pasa is a classic folkloric music from the Andes region, and they use a banjo. And that's where Simon and Garfunkel took their inspiration for the sound of music. The sound, what?
I didn't know that because I love the Simon and Garfunkel, but I never heard of it.
What's it called?
Bridge over troubled water.
No, it's Sound of Silence.
Oh, the sound of silence.
Yeah, that's where they took the inspiration.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Yeah. So Leo is a famous musician, and he looks really hot. I don't know. He does look hot. And,
He's got a girl's new style.
well, it depends how you look at it. Yes, well, when I switched to Peruvian music, it was obvious I was doing something authentic. He came up and he has several albums and he uses all the sound effects like in a modern beatbox.
Yes,
He does it for a sound of nature.
Yes.
This was actually quite crazy.
Mm.
Yeah. So there is a lot of I mean, every picture, every artist has their own palette, and he has his own palette in terms of certain, I don't know, sounds that he has, and harmony and other things. So I listened to about 3, 4, 5 his songs, and I wouldn't say that they're recognizable, but they have a style.
Yes,
It's a quite a distinctive style. So very
if he can play the banjo, then it gets him that he'll use it a lot in his music.
You know, my son had difficulties with sleeping, probably because I do have difficulties with sleeping. But when he was young, he didn't sleep for a long time. So one of the CDs I was listening to was the pen flute. So
It's very soothing.
it is very soothing. It's something kind of like it's all in your soul, in your body. Yeah. Is there any other authentic instrument with that?
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's the charango, it's called, which is a kind of a guitar. I think it's only got 4 strings, but it's you play it here, close to your. It's a guitar, and you play with your fingers and the strings. But you hold it close to here, and
Like shoulder.
yes, on your shoulder. You hold it almost like a violin, but it's played like a guitar,
Without bow, you
and
play
it plays sounds beautiful together with the panflute. And the drums, a lot of drums.
Yes, well, this is one of the healing instruments of the world. Different types of drums.
The cajon is quite a very traditional instrument. It's really a box, a wooden box,
Okay.
like used as a percussion.
Those are modern artists playing, are they close to me? Welcome back to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. It's me, Alina Williams, Warwick Foy, and our very, very interesting guest today, Carmen Castro Sylvester, again, a coffee queen, owner of Incafe and iCoco labels. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
So we have a Peruvian in Taranaki, and she is also very beautiful. She is a businesswoman. She knows music. She loves cooking. She's everything what we represent by Taranaki Foodies. So we just listened to Leo Rojas, beautiful music. It shows the pristine, mega diverse in climate and habitat and a lot of things that is interpreted into the music as well.
And
So
you don't know right now because you haven't got your headphones on, but I'm playing the national anthem of Peru.
I love it.
wow, it's an honor.
I love it. It's a very patriotic anthem.
Do you know the words?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about your country.
Peru is a big country, a bit. No, I shouldn't say too far away. It's really on the other side of the Pacific Ocean from New Zealand, on the west coast of South America. It's got 32 million or 33 million people, which is quite a bit. And fortunately, a lot of that population is in Lima, so it's quite a tumultuous capital, a bit chaotic maybe.
Do you know the population of Lima?
About 10 million.
Wow.
I think the whole population is about 40 million in the whole country. But this is so diverse. It's almost like watching a movie where there's goblins, elves, orcs live because you can see
More like Incas.
more like Incas. You can see the rainforest. You can see the
Yes.
peaks of the mountains.
It's very diverse. You've got the coastline, which is a desert. You've got the huge mountains, which go up to 6,700 meters high. You've got the Amazon jungle. You've got the tropics in the north. You've got the lower jungle in the south, which is where Machu Picchu lies. You've got on the coast the desert of bordering to the desert of Atacama with Chile. So it's a very diverse country, very lots of different climates, which gives you the different geography and diversity in the food as well.
That's a very long national anthem.
I think there's about 8 verses.
Okay,
I'm surprised that you don't know it
Yes.
because you sometimes drop different words in foreign languages when we interview different people. So I was expecting you actually to sing.
We're up to before we break the solemn vow, which the fatherland.
We used to sing it every Monday morning at school. We all know it.
Schools are good with developing patriotic feelings. Peruvian territory was home to several ancient cultures, ranging from Norte Chico civilization, starting in 3,500 BC, right? And the closest civilization in the Americas, and the oldest civilization in Americas, and one of the 5 cradles of civilization to the Inca Empire, the largest state of pre-Columbian Americas, the territory now, including Peru, and it's one of the longest histories of civilization in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Wow! So it's enigmatic civilization of Incas, which we don't know about. You know, Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
Machu
No,
Picchu.
in fact, in Lima, Peru is so big that you have quite a few different civilizations at different times as well.
Mhm.
Some, I think there are 10,000 before Christ in the north. The latest civilization was in the time of the Incas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they still find artifacts that some people don't know about, like architectural ones, why it is in such a position far away from the main route, or the shapes of the buildings, or or whatever. So people still don't know. It's almost like
There's a lot of unknown because there was no writing. There was no
writing.
So there's no chronicles really of what happened. All the history is known from the pottery that has been discovered in the tombs or from artifacts found in the ruins.
Apart from you, Carmen, who is the most famous Peruvian?
Oh, unfortunately, probably Alberto Fujimori, who was a corrupt politician, unfortunately. But yes, Javier Pérez de Cuellar, he was the president of the UN for many years.
Oh.
How about this supermodel, Adriana Lima?
She's Brazilian though.
She's Brazilian. Why is the Lima surname?
Yes, sir.
Coincidence? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, and what about, we're not going too much in politics, but you had a politician in the 90s who is actually quite a reformer and he did a lot of good for economical development of the country. And you're quite a unique position. You have trade agreements with Pacific, with all the Americas, with a lot of European countries, and I would say that you have a huge advantage among some other countries in the area. Is that true?
Hopefully, I think Peru has got a lot to offer to the world. The mining is quite big in Peru, and the agriculture. Unfortunately, the industry is a little bit underdeveloped, so we cannot offer much in that way. But the Peru has got a lot to go for. So hopefully,
I'm going to give you a geography test now.
You could our teacher in the house.
The question is, do you know what the Pacific pumas are?
Related to sport.
No, it's not sport,
No,
but
no,
well,
the point is that Argentinian rugby, but Pacific.
so I don't,
Is that the Oceano? No.
I've just lost it now. It's a grouping of countries, including Mexico.
Oh, it's like an economic union of
Economic union of the countries that run down the western side of
I did not know
Central
that.
and
Thank you for that.
South America.
it's not a geographical question, it's economical question. So when I was, because I'm a foodie, I was discovering different signature Peru drinks and food. I found the pisco sour is a national drink.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
And not coffee.
No, believe it or not, people in Peru, well, recently they are discovering the flavor of coffee, but traditionally, no, we used to drink tea in the afternoons. I grew up drinking tea in the afternoons. No, you will notice that the countries who grow the coffee are countries around the tropics, in between the tropics, while the countries that drink most coffee are outside of those tropics,
Oh wow!
further north or further south.
That's an interesting observation. So, if you have 3 words to describe pisco sour, what words would you use?
Oh, delicious, dangerous. It is dangerous, and just listen, just lovely to drink with friends.
Oh, right. So, do you have any stories who are dangerous?
It's only dangerous just because it's so delicious that you drink the first one and you straight away want to have a second one.
Mhm.
But while you're drinking the second one, the first one hits in.
So, they have their own celebration day in the calendar.
Yes, we do. You do.
Wow.
It's sometime in February, which I cannot
Yeah, I
remember.
think it's the beginning of February.
It's the beginning of February, yes. And I do have it in my calendar, so I do try to celebrate it here when we're in New Zealand.
How do you celebrate it?
Every trip I go to Peru, I bring my own bottle of pisco. I cannot find it here in New Zealand, so I bring it myself.
Well, this is a hint for people who import stuff. Please import pisco for Carmen.
Pisco from Peru. It's a funny anecdote, but just like there's a bit of a rivalry between New Zealand and Australia with the pavlova. There's a bit of a rivalry between Chile and Peru that the pisco is either from Peru or from Chile. Being from Peru, I have to agree that.
But then in the older days, when there were no governments, the whole territory was basically, and people were mixed together. And it wasn't a border there.
No, South America is a very close community. I have to say, there is a lot of South Americans in here in Plymouth, and we all get along really well. There's no rivalries whatsoever. As long as you don't talk about football, we're all good.
Football, all right. So we are talking about mega diversity, about how close the South American nations are, and how many ancient traditions and cultures were involved in it. So it's mega diversity in the continent. And how about the mega diversity in your family? So you are Peruvian. Yeah. Your husband Yup is from Netherlands.
Yes, that's correct. And my kids are Kiwis.
Yes, exactly. So you managed to incorporate 3 nations in one.
Yes, we do. And I'm half Spanish to add that to the mix. So my mom was Spanish, so it's a bit of a mix in the gene pool. When Tomas, our firstborn, when he was born, we were wondering what he would look like because there's so many different backgrounds in our families.
Personal identity is a very strange thing, like many who travel the world and then settle in different countries. But how do your children identify themselves?
it's hard for them because they've been born and lived in New Zealand all their life. But at home, we have so many traditions. I like the food, maybe what I cook is not 100% Kiwi. And so they do identify, they feel mixed. They do feel a big pull towards Peruvian culture and towards Dutch culture. Like some days, our breakfast is pancakes because you gets up and bakes pancakes for breakfast, which is really nice. For New Year's, we had olive oil because it's also a Dutch tradition for New Year's. Our Christmas was more towards our Peruvian and family tradition, celebrating Christmas Eve. So yes, they were born and raised here, but at the same time they do identify with their families.
Where is you from in the Netherlands?
He was born in Amsterdam and grew up there till he was about 9, and then they moved to the north west.
And you said your mother was Spanish. Does that mean she was born in Spain?
She was born in Peru to Spanish parents,
Right.
and then they went back to Spain with my mom's sister. So she was the only one from her family in Peru, and my unfortunately I never met my grandparents. And I got the chance to go to Spain, they were already gone, unfortunately. But I did went to their birthplace or where they grew up, and it was lovely to see them.
When I was reading about Peru, it was interesting how people say how the country name was born. So it goes back to the conquistados
Yes.
time, and because the crowns, several empires, were so bothered about new territories, and they didn't have time to name them all. So they put on the map the name of the person who was actually responsible for the street. So it was someone whose name was similar. So later on it changed into Peru. So it was Bidu or something like that. And then it became official name, which is really interesting.
Wow.
What would be the most obvious aspect of Peruvian life that would separate Peru from the other South American countries?
Ooh, good question.
It's a big question, isn't it?
It is. I think we identify a lot with the Incan civilization. We do have a big pride on our history, very, very big pride on all the traditions and history that we have.
Spanish influence is still quite strong.
It is very strong.
I mean, the language was.
Lima was founded in 1535, so most of the architecture around Lima is Spanish architecture.
When talking about architecture, we have an architect who turned into the organic coffee queen. So how was it to change your trade in such a dramatic way?
Yes. It was more of a, not so much as a conscious decision, but it was more the fact that we did start our own business, and well, at the same time, we had children. So my dream had always been to be an architect, but also to have my own family, which unfortunately took a few years to happen. So when it finally happened, it was just natural for me to quit my job and to raise my children. And just little by little, I got more and more involved in the coffee business, and yeah, it was very easy to.
Let's cut to the chase here. So how did you end up in Ecuador, and when did you establish Incafe?
Right, so we moved to New Zealand in September 2000, like 20 years ago.
From Peru?
No, from Holland.
From Holland.
From when we got married, we went to Holland for a year and a half. And at that time, he used to work for Shell with the oil, and so that's how we met. He came with Shell to Peru, and I was just temporarily working for Shell. So we met in the office and got married, and then he was sent back to Holland. So we moved to Holland, and he was feeling a little bit frustrated in his work. And in one of those magazines, oil magazines, he saw New Zealand, and he says, "Why don't I ever get a posting like this? Why do I? Would be so nice to be sent there." And 2 weeks later, he got a call, and he was asked, "How quickly can you get here?"
Universe answered. Yes.
He said, "This is fate." Yeah, so that's how we got here.
And it's interesting that, like most immigrants, you create your own employment instead of after trying probably to get somewhere. And this is quite a good way to get accepted into the society and find your own space and do the challenge.
So after a point in time, you've left Shell
Yes.
and you set up a cafe.
Well, actually, we first set up in cafe while I was still working as an architect, and he was working with Shell. And but it was hard to run our own business, running other jobs at the same time. So there came to a point where Job said, "Look, now I need to focus on this." And he decided. For a while, he was so involved, but then he decided, okay, this is it, no more.
So why coffee? Why not chocolate? Or
They sell chocolate on their website, and
Yeah, we have American chocolate, yes, and that's gonna grow. It's legal.
But it's amazing how some products take internationally. For example, why we are all coffee drinkers, not chocolate drinkers.
Yes.
It's eco product. It's not sweet by nature.
Usually, where you grow coffee, you grow chocolate.
Yeah. So, but everyone knows coffee and chocolate is considered the drink for kids. It's just in our mind. It's amazing how
It might be a bit too dangerous for me to set up my own chocolate company.
Well, you have a horde of kids to be your well ambassadors, so I'm sure it will be fine.
your timing was impeccable, though, wasn't it? Because I remember when I moved here nearly 25 years ago, there was only one cafe,
Yes.
and that was in Inglewood.
Yes.
And then over the next 5 years, around the 2000 mark,
Yes.
exploded here.
Yeah.
And now there's so many cafes.
Yes, I remember that because when we moved here 20 years ago, there was really a handful of places that we could go to.
That's probably why you wanted to make your own coffee, because coffee here wasn't up to your standards.
No, not really.
So we are listening to the second music piece, which is beautiful a cappella song recorded by Smithsonian Folkways, which is a non-profit record label for National Museum, and it's called "Song of Marriage" by a young girl. So I suppose it's her name was young girl. When I heard it, this is so beautiful. Actually, listened to it twice, and the fact that it's a cappella doesn't have a musical, it doesn't actually make
That's
it
amazing,
worse.
isn't it?
And I can imagine this little girl like standing straight because she's recorded for someone with a microphone. She's trying to dance and how the air was a little loose and how the wind is singing around. And her voice is really young, so I'm not sure whether she's married or not. But she's singing the song about marriage. Do you understand the words?
No.
Because there's so many different dialects and languages there.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's super good, and it could be catchful.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether it's part of an album which is called Mountain Music. So it could be several cultures.
Some of the other tracks on the album, Catholic Congregation of Oakham Gate, Loi Lamiska, and from Huaras,
Huaras, it's in North of Peru, North of Lima.
and from
Chumbivilca?
Yes,
Nothing Costco.
and
Just to,
Philharmonica.
yeah.
This is a beautiful album. I listened half of it because I didn't have enough time.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, they're all different because they're songs recorded from different areas, from different groups. It's I believe that it was someone, I don't know, maybe a PhD, traveling around and recording the songs of the area. Probably quite a cool way to get PhD.
Going back to your question about white coffee, I think it was in one of those trips that when you was living in Peru that he went exploring and ended up in the coffee area. And it's such a beautiful, it's a lush area, it's very green. And that area is quite organic. And I think that's what sold it to him, that it was so beautifully green. And
It was input. Alright, we've got 10 seconds.
Okay. Welcome back to Taranaki Foodies with Area 41. It's me, Elena Williams, Warwick, and our beautiful guest, Carmen Castro Silvestre, who is the organic coffee queen and also the owner of two brands in cafe and iCoco. And as you know, in 21st century, this is the century of personalities and the century of collaboration. So I'm going to ask you, Carmen, who are you collaborating with? Who are your main partners? Whom you can share the successes or who was part of the building block of your success?
We have probably our coffee growers. We have a big relationship with them, and that has only been built throughout the years through the share love to organics that we have, and really trusting each other and helping each other grow. Yeah, our coffee growers is probably our best partnership.
So it says on your website, it says it's called Chibi.
Cherry, yes.
Called Chibi in Chan Chan Mile.
Which stands, it's an acronym with like so long that cooperative of the Bosques of Hermanos, and it's such a long name.
So obviously there are people who've been doing coffee for many years. It's like a generations of the coffee growers, right?
Yes.
So when I see the pictures, they are genuinely into it. It's people with the dirty hands, with a huge smiles, with a tan on their faces, and those who are actually into it, you can see the passion.
Totally. This cooperative that we work with, the whole area of Chanchamayo is quite it's a big coffee growing region in Peru. It's in the center of Peru, on the other side of the Andes. So it's on the other side of Lima. It's on one side, and the coffee region is on the other side, and it's very close to the Amazon jungle. So it's very lush and green, but it's what it's called the higher jungle.
Oh, wow.
Closer to the mountains, and it's very lush and green, and the families that work there, they all work together. It's usually brothers with their own families, and that the land was passed on from their parents, so it's usually a very close community that works the land.
You will mention the person whose name is Felix Marin.
Yes.
So obviously it's like a key figure in the relation. Who is he?
Felix is here, the director of Cocktail. He is one of our blends is actually named after him.
Wow.
Our blend is called Marin because of him.
Oh.
He's our who we liaise usually for all the coffee that we export or import into New Zealand. He and his brothers work the land, and they inherited from their parents.
Wow.
Runs in their veins, really.
How does it work? You import your own things from wherever you wish to.
Yes, except that we try to keep consistency in our blends, so we try to get the same coffee every year. Now, every harvest, of course, is different, so we have to tweak a little bit depending on the new flavors of the new crop. But we do try to keep the same varieties, from the same area. 95% of our coffee comes from Peru.
And does it all come in one hit? And then
No. We have containers coming at a couple of containers a month. We have it staggered. We have it staggered all throughout the year because what we do is we do sign contracts with them at once, and we forecast what we're going to use for the year.
But if it only comes in one harvest per year, it must be stored somewhere before you.
Yeah, it takes a few months for them to harvest it, but at the same time, it's one crop, and after that they do store it. I mean, it takes 5 weeks to get here, so it's not. No. In fact, due to COVID, it's taking longer.
Is it stable when it comes off the bush? It's a bush, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not roasted, obviously.
It's a green bean. What they do is they do peel it. So they take the cherry out and they take the pergamino, which is like a hard skin, like a husk.
And it remains stable for quite a long time.
Yes, we do have it will remain okay, but we do keep it in a controlled conditions for humidity and for temperature, so that there's no variance in the weather, in the climate where it's stored.
And then, sorry, I laid out. No,
It's okay.
I'm just trying to get to it.
It's a very interesting topic. Everyone wants to know about.
Excuse me. So So once it gets to you, then you use your skill to blend different
Yes,
things.
when you roast each different origin or different bean or different variety of coffee, you roast them separately to the maximum potential or what you want to achieve from that bean. Sometimes you can over roast something or under roast something. So you do roast it to what you want to achieve with that, and then you blend it with the other varieties of coffee that you have, which can also be from Peru, but from a different plant altogether. It's like blending. A good comparison is apples. You can have a Braeburn apple, you can have a Royal Gala, you can have different apples. They're all apples, but they're all different varieties. And the same happens with coffee. Um, in the coffee market, it's one origin. Peru is one origin, but there are so many different varieties that it's you can do a lot.
Process-wise, I see lots of similarities with wine and beer making because we've had this discussion that consistency is one of the main problems for those homemade home brewers. And I believe that it was different from kind of people who do it on their own leisurely time and those who are industrial kind of producers. And you became, sorry.
It's interesting you raise malted barley because I was thinking because that is killed in a whole lot of different ways to get all the colours and flavours. But the people who do that, the maltsters, they don't care where it comes from. Obviously, there's some differences like English malt, New Zealand malt, but Gladfield malt, for example, which is in the South Island, which provides a lot of malt for breweries and for home brewers, they source their malt, their grain from a variety of farmers in Canterbury, and they won't know, there won't be much difference between those farmers. But the roasting process creates a massive difference.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to organic certify your processes and your beans before it became the mainstream.
Yes.
This was so laborious, this was so expensive, and well, now everyone realizes the value of it. But when you started it, no one knew why you did it.
It's probably because we have seen it firsthand.
Okay.
We go to the coffee area and you can see the destruction or the erosion in the land of places that are not organically, where the plants have not been grown organically. You know, you can have when it rains so much in the Amazon, they see it in the coffee lands that it gets washed away. And while when you grow organic plants, you protect the soil. You don't have just rows of coffee plants. You have companion plants. You have big trees. You have lots of birds and insects around. So all that the coffee plants are in between other trees.
So it's not like rows and rows of
no,
coffee trees. It's like a jungle, and people go among
Yes,
jungle.
and that's
Remember
why,
where the tree
and
is.
that's why the coffee is handpicked.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
It's fantastic, and it's really labor intensive, but at the same time, it provides work for the whole community. You see the wives, little kids. Well, it's not recommended for kids to work, but it's a family business where it provides work for a longer period of time because harvesting season is longer as well, and and when it's not harvesting season, you're working in the land, so it provides year-round employment for all the families, and it's
Wow, this is so cool.
protecting the environment.
I'm not sure if it's in volume or in dollars, but it's one of the largest traded commodities, isn't it?
Coffee, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Amazing.
Organic coffee is only 3% of the total global. Yeah.
And also, you're not only kind of a hero or rebel or inventor of this organic certification and coffee, you also work in sustainability for a long time. So you're one of the first in the industry to adopt the sustainable coffee cups and things like that.
Yeah. Before that, what one of our sustainable decisions was that we wanted to be carbon zero certified.
Yeah.
So we, since 2008, we established our first coffee was sold in 2007, but in 2008, from day one, we decided to be Biogrow certified and Fair Trade certified. And then we decided to be carbon zero certified so that we can trace all our emissions and at the end of the year do a calculation and see how many emissions we generated from all the process and plant trees
Did you goal to become zero carbon?
Yes, since 2016, we've actually been carbon positive, which means that not only have we, offset all our emissions, but we actually are on credit, which is fantastic. We have planted an equivalent of 15,000 trees.
Wow. Did you know that Ecofe is also education positive project?
Well, I've been to their place and she made me a coffee and I considered it my education.
Not quite a lot. So, as you know, listeners may know, I'm a school teacher working in the careers area, and barista is actually a really popular choice for many of our students because it's a good job when they're a student or
easy entry to the industry.
Yeah, or for any person that wants to enter the hospital. So we use a provider who trains up our girls, in my case, John, and he will take a visit to Ecofe.
Wow.
And I'll let you explain what the purpose of that is.
We take groups. John, like you say, John Hudson, he brings groups of students at a time, and we just explain to them the process of what it means, what it takes actually to produce a cup of coffee. People do not really realize how much of that is how much work is involved. But it's good to know, and it's when you do a barista training course, it's very important to see where the coffee is coming from as well, because you learn to appreciate the flavor, not just of the barista just making the coffee, but the bean itself, where it's coming from, and how it turned into the roasted bean.
I think it's really important because when you're paying $5 for a cup of coffee, even now it's still inconsistent with what you're getting.
You never know what you get.
No.
New barista comes to the same restaurant or cafe that you go, and it's completely new flavor. Or someone forgets to wash the coffee machine.
Mm-hmm.
Or, for example, there's so many different ways to make coffee. There is a dripping method, there is a cold method, and
there's many ways. Yeah, and they're all good. It's all about preference. I still believe that we all like our coffee
our own way,
and that's okay.
I've noticed that you sell a lot of green beans.
Yes, we do.
Wow. Do people buy green beans?
Yeah, it's actually quite quite a novelty that people are buying their own coffee roasters, little ones, so they roast it and drink it instantly.
I was thinking that it's kind of
but we also
scary. How do I roast it? How do I know that it's right?
There's new equipment in the market, but we also sell it to different roasters, and
So the purist who is buying the home roaster, how are they making coffee? Are they using a super expensive espresso machine, or what are they doing? Anything?
Everyone's doing
a bit of everything, I have to say. Yeah.
And the little stove tops, you know what I mean?
They're good.
I
very
just stop.
popular.
I add some spices to it. Yeah.
Oh.
I should bring my coffee one day. I mean, my spices and the coffee here. Or invite you to my house. Or go to Carmen.
Anytime. I love making coffee.
I'm the person who gets overexcited when I have a little bit of caffeine that's necessary. So when I order my coffee, it's a large latte single shot. So it's basically a lot of milk with a little bit of a color. But I originally started with the decaf, and a lot of people told me, "You're drinking decaf. This is so bad for you. They use chemicals to withdraw caffeine out of it."
They used to do it, not anymore.
Okay. Not anymore.
Why would you not want caffeine?
Because I'm really excited person.
Some processes they use chemicals to remove, but the one we use is actually quite natural. Don't use absolutely any chemicals, and just take the caffeine out. It's like osmosis. It's very
natural way to what do you do with the caffeine? Do you sell it to pharmaceuticals?
No, we don't do it. We send our own beans, our own green beans. We send them over to the plant in Germany to be decaffeinated. So they are our own coffee beans from Peru, and they're decaffeinated for us.
That's quite a process.
Is that after the roasting?
No, before. They're green beans.
And what is your choice of coffee?
She likes it really strong, I know.
No, not really. I like a double shot flat white usually, but I am actually transitioning over to long black at the moment. Yeah.
How many cups? I mean, you work in the roastery.
No, not many. I used to, and I would find myself on G3 in the middle of the afternoon, but no, only 2 cups. Mhm.
Wow. So I've noticed that you do coffee subscription, and I think it's such a great idea because people sometimes forget about what they need, and this is kind of taking
It's
away.
convenient.
Yeah, it's a convenience thing. So well done for this. It's a cool thing to do.
Yes, and I have to say during the lockdown, it was probably one of the things that kept us going because people wanted to have their coffee at home.
Yes, and this is a good quality coffee, not like a
Yes,
cheap.
we have really good comments about it because it reaches all the people in around New Zealand.
Talking about your reach, you are in Asia, you're in Australia, and then Europe.
Not in Europe, I wish.
Europe. Okay, okay. Well, we already have connections with the Netherlands. Who knows? Maybe. Okay, and the last question, because believe it or not, we are speaking for 45 minutes. Yeah. So chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate. You're going to sort of concentrate on making chocolate, right?
Not quite. It is a complete different process, and the building where we have now is not appropriate for that. I hope that one day it happens.
Yeah.
At the moment, what we do is drinking chocolate. We have developed our own drinking chocolate to our own specifications, and
Do you add sugar to it?
it's got a very little amount of sugar, so it's not very sweet. It's actually quite chocolatey and nice.
Have you always been in that location? In Belmont?
Yes, in Waiwakaia area.
Very modest.
From day one, since 2006, we're in that building.
And
We've totally outgrown it.
yeah. Do you advertise that you service coffee machines, or is it just on the side?
We actually don't really. We actually just service our own.
Well, Carmen probably sent to every location. Right. So how about we listen to the third piece of music, which Warwick chosen this time.
Oh, this is a bit random. Glad, and then we'll talk about it.
I'm sorry I didn't continue about the cups. I wanted to get back about the forever cups, the reusable cups.
Okay, is there anything else you want to say because we're going to wrap up?
Yes.
This music?
No. Yeah, only people.
We will have to do advertising, but advertising normally is like 10 minutes, and this will be enough time. And so we're going to talk about the house, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah wants to come up and say hello.
Oh, great.
She's going to bring her parents. I had a look at the movie.
Also, we need to make sure that the guests are appropriate for the parents. So maybe they have some kind of do something to give them, maybe try the food and then say the it will be good.
Today,
No, not today. I mean, is it today?
Today.
Okay.
we're here, so visiting at the moment.
All right. I thought they're planning. So what do you normally pair coffee with? Is it drink on its own or
I love it with
Okay. A lot of people who might not like a little bit of a bread with cheese.
Yes.
Sometimes it goes really well. Yeah. A lot of people that I know back in Ukraine and Russia love it with sweet things.
Yes, I grew up with that coffee with something sweet. Well,
Yeah.
if I go out with my friends, they sometimes have a savory style, which for me is good. I can't have savory with my coffee. I like
Let's ask independent.
Yeah.
So my husband, who is a real coffee lover, what do you think the coffee is best paired with? Since loudly. Okay, so coffee with ear.
I love this stuff. I love to use it with my coffee.
Oh, this is European ritual, just like Italian.
Yes.
Okay, what happened? What would you pair coffee with? Nathan?
That's cheese toast.
Wow, this is the real food here. Nathan cooks a lot.
Excellent. Right. I'll just say what it's on there. Right, so yes, a little different choice there that you might not normally hear on the most event. That was Buck Owens.
Wow.
Buck Owens is known as the father of the Bakersfield Sound, which is the
Beautiful. No, but
Banjo.
no, it's a chicken plucking on the guitar sound. Yeah,
Sounds very American.
it's from California.
Wow.
Actually, just to finish that story, I played a show on the live gig about 3 years ago because I don't like country music, and I played the Bakersfield Sound. Ever since, I've been on this long and winding road of exploring Americana and country music.
Mm. So we also didn't discuss something important today, which is your shirt. Talking about the geography of Peru, and they have a lot of birds and parrots as well. Those who don't see us, Uruk has a very epic shirt with a lot of parrots, and they have a purple and pink
makes me
and
homesick.
So, is there actually a parrot like that?
Yes, lots of them.
Yeah, where did you get this shirt? Don't tell me that it's a second-hand shop.
Right, so it's a long story. So I was in the US and they have this outlet store called Ross, and they have really nice label stuff for cheap as like this was about $20. However,
This is the worst than second-hand store.
so they had a pineapple shirt, and I loved it, so I bought that. And this was next to it, but I thought that was a bit expensive, I won't buy it. And then, of course, I got home like, man, I wish I bought that parrot shirt. So I went on eBay and I found it in the end and paid about 4 times what I could have paid for. So now I'm quite matching set.
Wow.
A parrot shirt. Yeah.
Well, you said your story. I'll tell you mine. Several weeks ago, I went to the network event, and it was a celebration of the 5th anniversary of the network, and there were a lot of prizes there. And I won one of the prizes, and guess what it was? It was a big present from Incafe. And I was standing next to Carmen, and she said, "Oh, I just wonder who would win it." And I was the winner, and it was coffee there. But the best thing was there also is this little cup that was so good. I use it all the time. It's almost like a thermos, but it's made of stainless steel, but it's very comfortable to hold.
Mhm. It's a new cup that we have brought into our range. It's a double wall stainless steel, so that keeps your drinks cold for a long time, for a couple of hours actually, and with a silicone lid. And at the moment we are trying to promote this because we want to stop people from using takeaway cups.
Yeah,
They drink their coffee, which takes a couple of sips, and a couple of minutes later, it goes into a rubbish bin and it goes into the landfill. So it's a terrible habit, and it really is just a habit. So we want people to start reusing. Either drink your coffee in a cafe out of a ceramic cup, or just bring your own cup and take it in your bag. It doesn't take long. So at the moment we're trying to promote this, and it's a little project of I'm trying it in New Plymouth with our cafe clients in New Plymouth, and trying to have a little bit of a cup library system going where our cafes can lend coffee cups out to their clients that forgot to bring their own reusable cup.
they can return it back.
And they can return it back in the next visit, which hopefully it will take off. Hopefully, if people do realize that they can do that.
Join the movement! Yes. Library of coffee cups! So cool. And this is the wrap up because we have been so involved in the coffee discussion almost the whole hour on here.
Absolutely.
So the few messages from our sponsor, Area 41 on Broad Street. Just check their ever-changing menu. They have epic chefs. They have a really good atmosphere, wonderful service. Make sure that if you have an event, you book the event because they have a beautiful mezzanine floor and another area where you can have either dinner with friends or maybe a conference with your colleagues. Yeah, lovely place.
I'll tell you a secret, Alina. I was at Cafe and I said to Carmen, "You've got to come on the most." I don't know what we talk about. Well, it's coffee. Everyone was talking and learning about coffee, and that's been proven by 53 minutes.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
No, we love you, Carmen. So thank you very much for coming, and
Lovely. Thank you for having me.
I hope you'll come again.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go.
Yes. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Can't get up and you can let your list.
Yes, you remember. Yes.
Exactly. You should come in here all the time. You're always welcome. Is everything is off?
Kind of all the concepts that I can have access to the right for your own channel.
Oh, this is full of ideas. I like it.
You look so beautiful. You sound so nice. This is amazing.
Okay.
You don't want one.
Oh, no. Thank you. It was very easy to just have a chat with you.
Yeah, and it was another formal and other program.
No, it was like you had a little bit of an agenda to talk through.
And I think it's very soothing. It's kind of our respect to our guests.
Yes.
Because we don't really need kind of many events where you go without them, but I do it out.
It felt really nice. Thank you. Definitely.
Thank you for coming, sharing your story. There's so many interesting things that I didn't even know about.
Yes. And a lot of things that we didn't talk about, so we could have had longer. No, thank you. Yeah, and then we ended up at a bonfire and
I'm in my office.
oh, yes, yeah.
This is a question of trust. Right. Trust.
But yeah, we ended up staying till midnight. We were not expecting to go. We were not expecting to go this, for the kids to do here, but we ended up staying because our friends opened up the door with so we, is everyone ready for a photograph?
Yep.
This way, you remove this fast. What's coming out? Don't ask you to move here because I would like to take photographs and answer the light here is much better, believe me. We need comments and for our face and the light
And you?
Yes, of course. Okay. I couldn't get down here. Of course, I'll take photos as it is.
Oh, these are great outfits.
Great. No, I actually think with other stuff. Yeah. One. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, another time will be twice.
Yeah. Next time I will hear you with a Latin American musician. I'll talk about music and food. Oh yeah. Because sometimes sponsors come up with at a certain time.
Next time I'll bring Mexico. How about that?
Wow. You can't really increase the speed with more cars.
We'll just have one.
And they are American musicians because I know several.
Okay.
I think one of them guys can demonstrate how they move their feet. Support them and you're on the radio.
Yes, yeah. It's not for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe tomorrow, Monday, I'm not sure. I was just thinking one day that we won't want to go for another one tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm a bit of a friend with me. If you go on.
Okay. I'm
free now.
I'm getting week on Tuesday. So I'm going to go tomorrow and I'll yeah, I did it. Never mind them.
You know, that was like this thing. How do we make all this?
Okay.
I think was putting things in
Thank you.
When is the best time to get chocolate?
From Tuesday on break. I know,
From Tuesday, next week, Tuesday next week. No, we'll make sure that they put it in there. I put it out. Okay.